Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Fast Leadership Podcast with Arno and Gordon, where we look to take the rocket science out of leadership and make it accessible to everybody.
Hey, hi Gordon. Welcome to the Fast Leadership Show. Welcome everybody. This is me, Arno Stipend, talking with Gordon Tredgold, and we'll talk today about a question that I have. Gordon, I was late for our recording today because I couldn't focus on getting ready. I was at the moment I woke up, I was submerged by so many priorities that I was actually late for this. So first of all, I apologize for being late. And then I'd like to know if the FAST method can give some tips about how to keep your focus when there's so many emergencies from left and right, and you just lose it sometimes.
One of the most common things I say is that when everything's a priority, nothing is a priority. So we really need to make sure we sharpen our focus. And a lot of times it's not necessarily about the complexity. Sometimes it's about our reason why. If it's not important to us, it's hard to prioritize something that's not important. So, for example, when I tried to run when I was invited to do a 10K run as part of a marathon, when am I going to run? I don't have the time. Maybe I'll just practice at weekends. So I trained at the weekends and I failed to do it, and I ended up quitting. But 6 months later, I ran a marathon, and part of the reason for that was because I was now looking to raise money for cancer charity because I had 6 friends who were going through chemotherapy. So I had a much stronger why. And as soon as I had that, I just realized I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm spending 1 hour watching the news. And the majority of the news on the breakfast TV is the same thing repeated every 15 minutes. So I can just watch 15 minutes. I don't need to see it again and again and again and again. And, so I ended up getting up and going running at 6 o'clock every morning, every single day. And I was somebody who'd have told you I didn't have the time to do that. But what I did was, because I had a strong why, it just prioritized itself above a lot of other things. So we need to make sure we've got clarity as to why we want to do something. And if the why is not strong enough, then it's going to be difficult to do it. Now, it could be that we have to do it because we've been told to do it. And that's not really a strong why. And then we just need to be disciplined, of course. So
I understand that if you're not sure about the task and you said it in terms of why am I doing this task or this objective, then my mind really likes to go other roads and explore other things to do, and so I tend to procrastinate. Because of that. Self-discipline might be the key here, but to me, it's like somebody would.
I think it's one of the keys. Having a strong why and self-discipline are definitely 2 keys, but I think there are more keys than that.
Okay. We'll come back to that, but I'd like to say that self-discipline definitely is not something. It's not a magic wand that you play with and suddenly you have discipline in doing the task, right? So to me, at least, focus is a matter of celebrating the small steps. If I don't celebrate myself when I do an incremental phase of the project, I will lose focus. So I'm like a child, or like I don't know. I need my sugar every now and then, to keep me motivated.
Well, I was going to mention that as one of the other keys for staying focused is having confidence that we're going to be successful. People have heard me say people are not afraid of hard work, they're afraid of failure. And when we can't see how we're going to be successful, why should I focus on something where I know I'm going to fail? I'm not going to do that. It's like a lot of times when there'll be things that two jobs that need doing. One, I need to organise my paperclip drawer. The other is I need to do that difficult piece of work I don't know how to do. I'm going to get the endorphin rush from sorting out the paperclip drawer. So now I'm going to be drawn to that.
Right.
Because, I really should be doing this, but
you don't know how, and you don't know if you're gonna succeed in that.
I don't have clarity over the approach, and I don't know whether it's going to be successful. So I want to, we all want success. So if there's two things, one we can do successfully, one we're not sure about, we'll get drawn to the one where we can see success, which means for the things that are important that we want to do, we've got to find a way and an approach that we think is going to be successful. And as you mentioned, I talk about marathon running a lot. When you start, you're never going to run 42 kilometers. It's not gonna happen. You've got to start with 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, and then you've got to give it. That's the goal. And then you've got to get that adrenaline rush, that endorphin surge from having those small successes. So, and that allows us to maintain and keep focus.
Love it. And to me, it is especially true when it comes to leading a team, right? Because it could be in sports, it could be, of course, in business world, but if you get people abroad and on board and working on a common objective, right? You cannot just leave the long-term objective as it is and not plan ahead of many steps to go there. So I guess my question to you is, okay, imagine you're leading a team, you have the long objective, you have the very the steps to go through it, you have the planning right, people are motivated, but every day they receive maybe tens of emails with so-called emergencies, and you will get them too, and they will receive, side quests from that main objective. How do you deal with those kind of fake emergencies that comes from outside other teams or other companies or whatever? How do you manage that short-term and long-term focus? Should I focus on the long-term only and leave the short-term away, or should I do something hybrid? Or I just don't know. Sometimes I'm just swamped in short-term objectives, and I forget the long-term objective.
So my daughter's getting married in May 31st.
Hey, congrats!
Thank you. Congrats to her and to me.
Yeah, sure.
Get her off the books.
Hopefully to him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And my long-term goal is that by the day of the wedding, I'd like to lose 15 kilos. Okay. COVID, poor diet,
right?
All of those things kick in. Now, if I keep thinking about 15 kilos, that's my long-term goal. But I'm never going to run. I'm never going to run a marathon. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to do it all day, one day too. So what, as part of that, and this is where with FAST we talk about transparency. What I've done is, I've created a plan of what that progress should be. So every day I know that I need to be losing a tenth of a kilo. It's 150 days away. A tenth of a kilo every day. That's going to help me lose 15 kilos. So I've put that plan in place because if I keep my eye on the long-term prize, I'll lose track of the short-term activities. So I need the short-term goals and visibility on that in order to keep me focused on the short-term track. So basically, what I want to do is over 15 weeks, I want to lose a kilo a week. Mm-hmm. Maybe a kilo and a half in the first few weeks and half a kilo in the latter weeks. So I've created the plan of that, and what I do is I put my daily progress against it. And we have to do similar things with our projects. Break down You want to be a millionaire in 10 years, then you need to have 100,000 by the end of this year. Okay, 52 weeks, let's call it 50. That means we need 2,000 that we need to be saving every week. That means we need to be doing, let's say we only work 5 days, because it's easier to divide 20 by 2 5.
So you focus on today, I get to make $400.
400 a day. That's 200 in the morning, 200 in the afternoon.
Right.
And the long-term number is a big number, but we need to be looking at those, what are the things that we need to do now? And we need to keep that, we need to have visibility into the intermediate goals and then track our performance against it. Because if we don't, we'll get sidetracked. And also as well, do I weigh myself every day? Yeah, I do, but there's going to be fluctuations. But what you want to see is that trend line. And if at the end of the week it's going the wrong way, then maybe the approach is wrong. Or am I getting sidetracked onto something else? And let's keep coming back and focusing. And the other thing is that, excuse me, by looking at trying to lose 1/10 of a kilo or a little bit more every day, it's not a huge amount. So it's an achievable goal every day. As I say, it's more over the week because there'll be fluctuations, but I'm never that far off schedule. I can say, you know what, I'll just have a salad for lunch today, and that might help me get back on. So I'm able to maintain the pace. Whereas if I don't have that visibility in the performance, at the end of 2 weeks, I've now got to lose 17 kilos instead of 50, instead of 13.
Yeah,
I've become sidetracked. So we've got to plan our progress and get visibility into it. Now the other thing about focus is that it's difficult to maintain focus when our focus is not clear. And again, I'm going to use weight loss. I might be obsessed with it. I don't know. But
could have many people, myself included.
Yeah, it's it's difficult to maintain focus when you have the wrong focus. So for me, I'm going to run a marathon in November, and I need to start training. So I'm going to run the marathon to help me lose weight. Yeah, that will get you healthier and in a state to run a marathon. When it comes to weight loss, it's 80% about what we eat and 20% exercise. So if I now focus and think, okay, exercise is the key to success, and I'm looking at exercising every single day, it will help me, but it's not the thing that's going to get me to success.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard then to keep focusing on, going running every single day when you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it, and you're just seeing the plateau in performance. So we need to make sure, and this is another reason why we need to have transparency. It's not just about being able to track our progress, it's about confirming that our approach is the right one. Because if all you did was exercising and you're trying to lose 15 kilos, pretty quickly you're going to see yourself plateau and not make any progress. And that means that my focus, even though I'm really focused on what I'm doing, it's actually the wrong focus.
Mm-hmm.
And when we've got the right focus, we'll start to see progress. That will motivate us to keep going.
Yeah, like it a lot. You don't play it short term versus long term.
Yeah.
You cut the long term into short term.
Yeah, it's all about the short term. Big successes are an accumulation of small successes. Perseverance is a talent multiplier. We just take a little bit and we just keep doing it over and over and over again. And the other thing I would say is that when we talk about if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. You need to have 3 to 5 priorities maximum. I can't be going to lose 15 kilos, be fluent in Spanish, write a book, swim the channel, become a world famous chef, because there isn't enough time in the day to do all of these things to the levels that need to be done. So we need to make sure that we're not overcommitting ourselves and we're not over capacity in terms of our commitments. I mean, there's a really good acronym for focus, and it's one I like it, but I don't think it's 100% true. And the acronym is focus is follow one course until successful.
It's nice. Yeah, it is nice. Yeah, easy to remember.
So I'm actually doing 3 things. I'm looking to run a marathon, so I'm going to start the training for that. I'm on a diet to lose 15 kilos by 31st. But I'm not trying to do 7 things. So I've got a couple of things in different areas that I can do, and they're complementary, so they'll help each other. But what we can't do is we can't be chasing 10 rabbits. That doesn't work. They say if you chase 2, you'll catch none, and that's where they follow one course until successful. But in different areas of our life, we can have different goals, and we can do them, but as long as they're non-competing.
And it's true that we see so many people, and sometimes I'm like that myself, focusing on so many tasks, being good parents, being great at work, being fit, having the house clean, and doing all that with a nice smile on the face. And people, they crack down because of that. They can't. Well, we get 24 hours a day, and most of them we're asleep or resting. Not all of them, but some of them. And we need to indulge a little bit that we are not limitless.
Yeah, but we also need to accept that we can do more than we think, and we need to be really brutal about the time we're spending, because create a diary of where you spend your time, and then go back and look at it and ask, was that productive? Now, my nap between 12 and 1 wasn't productive in terms of output, but it made me clear for the afternoon. Okay, we'll keep that in. Me watching the rerun of last night's football because I enjoyed the game and I want to see us beat Manchester again. That's not productive. That's wasted. That's wasted time, or time that could be better spent. There's a great video from Arnold Schwarzenegger where he talks about when he was in Hollywood and he was spending, I think it was 4 hours a day in the gym. 5 hours a day, becoming Mr. Universe. He was working a full-time job and he was doing 2 hours a day of acting classes.
Wow. But if you think about it, 4 hours a day might be the amount of time people spend on social media.
Yeah, I mean, how much time do we spend scrolling videos?
And Schwarzenegger transformed that time into getting Mr. Universe.
Yeah, so it's like for me, I live in Spain. I want to learn Spanish, and I've been having lessons, but what I haven't been doing is I haven't been watching Spanish TV, which would be good for listening comprehension. I speak it when I go outside, but I'm more often than not indoors. And I spend a lot of time, like everybody, scrolling through videos. So why not watch Spanish videos? What's the return on investment in that time? And if the return on investment in the time is 0, that's wasted time.
It is, definitely, yeah.
Now, the return could be, I had fun, I laughed, I feel less stressful. Okay, that's valuable.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
But if you're looking to achieve more, then look at where you're spending the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's spending it productively.
Yeah, and I would say this: if you're in the case of listening to us and thinking, I want to achieve more, and this drags me down, Why am I doing that? Please don't inflict yourself some pain. Don't feel guilt because everybody looks for cheap dopamine and everybody fails, and that's okay. And that's part of being focused, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It is part of being focused. It's to recognize I was out of focus and I will go back to focus, right?
So another thing that I do and I would recommend people to do is that, and I think we might have mentioned this previously, is that it comes with self-awareness, which is great as a leadership skill, and that is understand when you are the most productive.
Yeah.
I personally am a morning person. I get up at 5:30 every day, and from 6:30 to 8:30 is when I'm at my sharpest and most productive. So if I was, when I was writing leadership articles, I would write between 6 and 7:30, 6 and 8, or I would go for a run and then come back and write from 7:30 to 8:30. If I'd have just used that time for, let's say just go for a 2-hour run and then decided I was going to write at 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock at night, it's not going to be as good because that's not when I'm at my most productive. So we should understand when are we the most productive and then put the things that are most important into that task. So it's not about prioritizing tasks to put them ahead of throughout the entire day. Prioritize them into our productive time. Don't waste your productive time.
Yeah. That's a great advice. I like to go offline when I'm the most productive and to keep, the emails and everything out of my mind and out of sight at least between 10 and 1. Because because I know me and I know that if I get an email at that time, I will get out of focus. So I don't want that.
So I'm learning Spanish. I live in Spain. I want to improve. Excuse me. I want to improve my Spanish. And one of the things about Spanish is that in Spanish they have this tense, the subjunctive. We don't have it in English. And the subjunctive is where if I say I was talking to Dave and he has bought a blue car, because the second part is the verb is about him and it's about the car and not about him, you have to use the subjunctive, and it's a whole completely different tense. I'm like, there's 11 tenses in Spanish. I don't know. And I'm like, I'm learning the past, the future, the conditional. It's like the subjunctive. And I asked my Spanish teacher, will people understand me if I get that wrong? She went, yeah, but it won't be perfect. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be perfect. I'm not going to do it. And I've actually started now using ChatGPT. And what I'm doing with ChatGPT, I'm just saying, okay, I want to learn this particular tense, test me. And then where I'm getting things wrong, let's just focus on that. Let's focus on eradicating things. And I asked ChatGPT, okay, what tenses, this is why I know there are 11 tenses, what are the tenses in Spanish and which are the ones that are most used? And interestingly, the most used at 40% is present, which doesn't come as a surprise. Number 2 is the imperative, which is commands.
Do this, do that.
Yeah, are you sure it's not the past or the imperfect? And then the third was the subjunctive. So it's the third most used tense.
Okay.
And if I'm not giving commands, which I think that usage depends on probably our personality, it's the second most used tense. And I want to speak better Spanish.
Right.
I have no choice.
Yeah, you get to learn it. Yeah.
So now I've avoided it for 4 years. I've avoided it for 4 years. But now that I've seen that it's the third most commonly used test, I was learning one that was like 2.7%. I'm spending hours on something that's 2.7%, whereas the subjunctive is like 12, 13%. So so I actually started doing it. And once I started doing it, it was actually, you know what? This is not that difficult. It was my resistance was, we don't have this in English. This feels unnecessary. I'm not doing it.
So actually, what you're saying is that you had no why, no reason to pursue that objective,
I had
and
a
you found
reason
it.
why not to do it.
Yeah, you had reason to not do it, but not to do it. And I'm thinking it's interesting because you said you asked ChatGPT, and I'm thinking AI is really good at giving you this kind of clarity of what's useful, what's less useful, because the way it's based is that it does its little research on the web,
Yeah,
and it will get a nice view of what's used and what's not used.
yeah,
And so in some projects, AI can be a really powerful tool to help you get clarity.
yeah. I think one of the things for me is a lot of people are afraid of AI, that it's going to come in and take over a lot of things. I think there is some truth in that. But for me, I don't see it as a threat. I see it as a tool that's going to allow me to speak better Spanish. But I'll tell you a funny story. So I was doing some work, and we all want the dopamine hit, so it's easy to do those bits of Spanish that I already know. But I was using AI to force me to do the things I was struggling with. Let's just clean this up. They have two verbs for to be, and which one you use when. It's hard to know. So I went through that. But when I said, should we now dive in? Should we? The next thing we do be the subjunctive? Even ChatGPT said, "Hang on, before we dive into that, let's just ask ourselves: is that the best use of your time?" It's like I don't need you to be procrastinating on my behalf.
Right, yeah.
Covered. And I just said, but it's 12% of Spanish. And they went, yeah, you need to do. And I want to go from, I'm at level B1, I want to go to B2. He said, yeah, you've got to master it to be at B2. So it's 12%. I need it for B2. I have that strong why. And now actually I've dived in and I've started doing it. And it's not as hard as I thought it was. But I couldn't focus on it because I had that voice in the back of my head saying, we don't have this in English. People will understand you anyway. However, whilst that's true, I wouldn't understand them when they use it because I'm like, I don't know what that word is. So 12% of Spanish spoken to me, I'm not going to understand. They'll understand me, but I'm not speaking. I'm not learning it to speak to them. I'm also learning it to understand them. So yeah, we've got to have that clarity over why we're doing it. We've got to think that we're going to be successful. I thought I'll never learn this, but actually, as I'm doing it, we're breaking it down. Just give me the 5 or 6 most common used verbs, and I'll learn those. I'll learn a part of it. I don't need to know all of it. I'll just learn a part of it. So I've been working with that. And I think, from an individual perspective, we need to do that. But as leaders for our teams, we also need to be doing that. We need to be making sure that we are clearly communicating why we're doing things to help people remain focused on it. And we need to make sure that we're not giving them too much work and blurring their focus. And we should be looking and seeing are the things that we're asking them to do that are unnecessary. And the number of bosses that I've worked for where we had meetings that could have been an email. And then you're complaining about our productivity. Meetings are non-productive time. And if you've got one person, if you've got 6 people in a meeting, one talking, there's 5 people possibly not being productive. So we should be, do we need everybody in all those meetings? And if we don't, let's get rid of them. Let's not just have it because we could.
I was in this situation a few years back. I had so many meetings. I had to work during the meetings to get my work done and to be ready for the next meeting.
Yeah.
So I was basically listening to nothing and contributing to nothing. because I was just preparing the most important meeting of the week for me.
You were there body only.
Yeah, absolutely. My mind was on the next week's meeting. Yeah. So yeah, that was a poor management side in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to keep.
Yeah.
Not only do we have to be focused, we need to make sure that we're not defocusing our teams by having them involved
Right.
in too many things or giving them things that are low value add. There's a really great tool. I'm sure it has a name, but I can't. I don't know the name of it. And that's the quadrant diagram where you look at whether things are urgent, important, not urgent,
Right.
important. And more often than not, we focus on the urgent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the things that are most beneficial for us are often the non-urgent important because those are things that contribute to our long-term goals.
Right.
And
Right.
we need to be looking at that box. What's urgent and important? Yes, that should be a number one priority. Number two priority should be not urgent and important.
Mhm.
Urgent but not important. That shouldn't be a priority. And if it's neither urgent nor important, why the hell are you doing it? And we have to
Yeah.
ask the questions. And for me, things that are unimportant, urgent but potentially unimportant, is if the phone rings, and if you can see it's somebody that's not necessarily important, don't answer the call.
Right.
Call them back, or just take it and go, hey, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back. Boom, put it off. But quite often, when the phone rings or an email comes in, it's like, oh, I have to respond to that now. Nah, that's just urgent, but not that important. And we need to be focused on the urgent and important, and the important and not urgent. And here's a thing that's going to blow people's mind. The more we focus on the things that are important and not urgent, the fewer urgent, important things we'll have to deal with. Because we get urgent, important things to deal with because we've been spending too much time focusing on non-urgent, non-important, that the not urgent and important things have now moved into the urgent box because we didn't spend any time doing them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. I don't see it like that. What I did discover though, in the same kind of essence, uh, I got to go to ER a few months ago, and that really reminded me that my emergencies are not real emergencies. There's not a house burning. There's not a life in play.
Yeah.
So I get to
recalibrate.
Yeah, recalibrate. Exactly. And the other thing that I discovered is that my colleagues or my collaborators' emergencies sometimes are not mine. So I don't have to make it a top priority sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's there. And yeah, you can be a nice person, of course, and you can help, but it should not affect you and your planning and your well-being, because if it does, that will bring you into a situation where you're not good in your work, and then you're liability even for them. Yeah.
So there's a couple of things, and there's one that's a phrase that I hear and I resonate with, and that is that when you come and ask me for help, it's urgent and important for you. I get that. It's urgent for me because you're asking for my help right now.
Yeah.
But if I'm not benefiting from it, then is it really important to me? And that doesn't mean we shouldn't help people when they're in trouble. I'm not saying.
Of course. Yeah.
We should look at it where if the reward of me focusing on what I need to do is bigger than what you would get or we would get from doing yours, then I need to say, I'm sorry, but I need to focus on this. And the phrase that it reminds me of, what was it now? A drama on your part is not a crisis on my part. It's that's your problem, your crisis, not my. Happy to help if I'm free, but I mean, your poor planning doesn't create a crisis.
Exactly.
Poor planning on your part does not create a crisis on my part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sorry, I'd love to help you, but you should have thought about this earlier. You're on your own. Good luck. I need to focus on this. And sometimes we need to be hard. And if it's not life threatening or career limiting, then
Yeah. Everything's going to be all right.
if you work for me and you come to me and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't do that work you wanted," but the good news is I've helped Arno with his project in another department. That's going to be an interesting conversation. And it's not going to go. It's not going to go as well as you think.
No, probably not. Yeah. Okay, shall we leave people with that in mind?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for listening to us or watching us or reading us.
Yeah.
Whatever you prefer, please don't forget to rate, subscribe to our podcast, and leave a comment and a nice message or some ideas of what you miss in the workplace or in your leadership situations. We'd like to hear from you guys and we'd like to respond to that.
Yeah.
So until next time, Gordon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.